Hello, welcome back, you guys. So I wanted to go over something real quick with you guys. This is a side note. I am down to 18,800, so I keep losing money. I got liquidated again last night. I tried shorting, I tried shorting, I tried shorting. I kept getting stopped out, and so I was like, fine, it's just gonna long. So I made a long, and then I fell asleep and I got liquidated. And then I was like, you know what, this is the bottom. So I bought here and I got liquidated again. So yeah, you guys, um, I'm gonna make it back, but I'm just incredibly frustrated with this whole thing. So, anyways, I made a video yesterday um, about this person, Catherine Austin Fitz, and her ties to Jeffrey Epstein, not ties, but her investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, how Trump, Epstein, aliens, apocalypse, revelations, and, you know, all of these biblical events all come into a head, and possibly why Trump is not, why he's being so vague with the Epstein files, okay? In my video, I just decided not to post it because I was so frustrated that Grok was being so mainstream media and not speculating on anything, and like even down here, I was like, "What do you think of this?" Like I was like where is it? Alien invasion, solar system. So it's like no credible evidence, historical context, some predictions, but nothing. End times judgment. Yeah, this is not going to happen. Fitz connection. There's no connection. There's nothing to see, nothing to escaping judgment via underground cities, feasibility under, you know, this whole thing. Final answer, totally speculative. And then I was like, hey, what do you think of this right here? Alien attack in November. Harvard scientists warn mysterious object hurtling towards us. There's literally a Oumuamua object the size of Manhattan, which has not demonstrated its ability to divert its trajectory yet. However, by November, it will be behind the sun. It's going to be taking a stop by Saturn and Jupiter. And it makes a there's like a Lagrange. I don't even know if it's a Lagrange point, but anyways, it's going to become invisible to our systems, our observation systems like SETI and anything else in November of this year, because it'll be directly behind the sun, and we have stereo, solar facing stereo satellites. And these satellites view. I've never been here before, but this is, you know, like there's like a disk in front of the sun, and it's basically just observing the coronal ejections or the corona, and the, you know, space weather that comes from the sun. Anyways, without getting off topic, we have another object hurtling towards us. Oumuamua, if you didn't know, back in 2017 was a large object. I'll go ahead and say what I said in the last video. I had an idea, and I'm not going to get into the details of how, because you know, this is proprietary information, and I still feel like it's patentable. But the idea of insulating a spacecraft with regolith is not an unknown idea, because I have seen it in different concepts. But anyways, I had an idea a long time ago, probably in 2016, 2012, maybe even, of using lunar regolith or any other low mass body in space that requires a very low delta V or a very low amount of energy to escape its orbit, because Earth requires a lot of energy to get up into space. But if you're on the moon, it requires very, 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 very little energy. You can basically throw a rock into orbit. On Earth, you can throw a rock and it comes right back down. So you could use something like a meteor, or the moon, or any other I guess like a meteor or the moon, to mine. And when you mine that, you can mine up packets of regolith and launch that into orbit, pick it up from orbit, and you have like a massive spaceship that you're building in an orbit that's very easy to maintain, like the lunar orbit, requires very low fuel. You could use like ion thrusters for a massive building, or spaceship that you're building in the lunar orbit. But if you were to build a massive spaceship in the Earth orbit or low Earth orbit, you would have to have something greater than ion thrusters. For example, the International Space Station requires that you have a larger thrust capacity, or a larger delta V. Anyways, so going back to the moon, you can have this regolith that you pack around the spaceship, and then you insulate yourself from space weather, from coronal mass ejections from the sun, like this here, and also from space weather in general. You're not going to survive like the impact of an X flare, most likely, but you could have emergency capsules that are like lead bound, little containment facilities that you can go inside of whenever you are experiencing severe weather, space weather, inside of your spaceship, and that would only last like 30 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. Then you can come right back out and you'll be fine. So anyways, all that to say that Oumuamua was flying through space in 2017, and then it changed its direction. Okay, now that is the fact that it's not being talked about, still, wow, holy moly, this is crazy. That had to have been an alien or a divine, like God or something like that. It had to have been something that is I guess you could say, of a higher intelligence. Either the object itself was being propelled or controlled by a higher intelligence, or a divine interaction took place, and it's literally the hand of God that smacked that that object in space and diverted its path, without breaking it up or anything like that. Now, what's to say that we don't develop some ability to do something similar in the future? And while we did not see any obvious signs of propulsion with the Oumuamua, we are still in the Stone Ages when it comes to the types of propulsion that are known with our current technologies. We have ion thrusters, solar sails. We have regular propulsion, or thrust-based propulsion, or combustion-based propulsion, which is our typical rockets that require a large amount of delta V to get off of the planet. And then there's also nuclear propulsion, which is obviously something that you wouldn't see on Earth, but it's something that you would see in space. And Rolls-Royce is developing a nuclear like, let's Rolls-Royce nuke propulsion. Rolls-Royce is developing a nuclear-based propulsion system for space-based applications. And there's a lot of other companies that are doing that as well. We are, getting ready to do the next level. Okay, now that said, our seismic, like monitoring, we were with our abilities to monitor what was taking place with the Muamua, we did not see what caused its path to be diverted. But I do believe that the reason why its path was diverted was to observe how the human race, because they're probably monitoring us, right? They can just tap into the internet and see what we're like. They could have some secret base on the moon that we don't even know about anyways. So they could have just, seen how we reacted. And then now they have another object that's coming first by Saturn, then by Jupiter, and then behind the sun, all, behind the sun in November. And it could be a seed. It could penetrate the sun and cause the sun to do something like become hyperactive or cause some kind of event or whatever. But all we know is that it's currently floating through space. It's not diverting its path or anything like that. Its current trajectory is going to take place. It's going to go Saturn, Jupiter, or then behind the moon or behind the sun. Anyways, we have the capacity, myself, specifically, has thought of the idea of insulating a spacecraft with regolith, and what's to say that in the future we don't go to the Kuiper Belt and literally just jump ship, and build boring, like Elon Musk's boring thing, tunnel, like bore straight into the center of a meteor that has plenty of resources for creating food, like water or ice, resources for developing technology like silica, carbon, and silver and gold and things like that. Abundant resources that we need. And then and also fuel. And then they take that and they just attach propulsion methods inside of the rock. And let me just pause and let me see something. Okay, I'm unpausing. So here's the idea. You have your you have your meteor. And this is the back side of it. Okay, now this is this is like where you live, like deep inside. Um, so anyways, these are where your rockets are. And like you have tunnel networks that are like inside of here and allow you to kind of like live inside of here. And right here you have your thrust that comes out of here and is relatively hidden. And you now are living inside of a meteor. And this like you can have thrust vectors like on the sides as well. And also on the front for braking. So you can change the trajectory of your meteor while you're living deep in the center of this meteor, well insulated from any kind of space weather. And then you have your little emergency capsules that are like bound in lead that prevent you from being exposed to solar radiation by X flares or something like that from cosmic weather or from solar weather. And so you have something like this. And you can have these kinds of, you know, rocket engines that are propelling it. So that's something that we potentially could be seeing here in the near future. Now, my conversation with Grok was very, 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 like it did not go well at all. But I'll read some of the stuff because it's interesting, and Grok is just not going to answer any questions because this is apparently this is too close to home, and Grok doesn't want to touch this information because it ties right into the Illuminati or whatever, you know, and this is just it makes a lot of it ties a lot of connections. So here we go. What are the most prominent claims of Catherine Austin Fitts? Nobody's heard of Catherine Austin Fitts, huh? Who is she? Can you help me investigate how she'd be able to deduce that over half of our national debt was backdoored to building secret underground cities for the elites? Can you share what factual evidence leads to this deduction? She ties Jeffrey Epstein into all of this. Recent developments show that Trump paid Epstein $1 billion. Was Trump paying Epstein to secure a place in one of these underground cities and ensuring his survival from what may be approaching Earth? Scientists are saying that we may be seeing some kind of alien invasion by November. Alien invasion by November. And keep in mind, Trump it was like 1 point Trump made 725
Treasury's Epstein file details, Mr. President, 4,725 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that is more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. Treasury's Epstein file details, Mr. President, 4,725 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,700.
Trump funneled over $1.1 billion to Jeffrey Epstein through 4,700 wire transfers, and you best believe it wasn't for fishing ships.
Treasury's Epstein file details, Mr. President.
Treasury files Epstein details, Mr. President. 4,700 wire transfers.
4,000.
Let me repeat that. 4,700, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion, flowing in and out of just one of Mr. Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that's potentially investigation. Hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. That's even a lot more to investigate. The files show that Mr. Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions, to process payments related to trafficking. A lot of the women and girls he targeted came from Russia, Belarus, Turkey, and elsewhere. You know what? I'm starting to believe that this video is just talking about Epstein and not Trump. Interesting. Latest Epstein revelation is that Trump sent 4,700 money wire transfers totaling $1.1 billion to Epstein, and now says, I hardly knew the guy. Trump keeps appointing inexperienced people to DOJ. There's that. This video. Let's see if we can find something more concrete. These are victims. Michael Parker. Trump paid his parents $3 million in settlement. Kelly Fewer. Charles. Okay, so these are all accusations. Okay, so like if I were to say, like if your name was we'll just call you Pat, because Pat can be a guy or a girl. And instead of saying Mr. President, Treasury's Epstein file details Pat. Okay, Treasury's Epstein file details Pat 4,700 wire transfers. Let me repeat that. 4,700 wire transfers, Pat. Adding up to nearly $1.1 billion. Flowing in and out of just one of Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that's more than 4,000 potential lines of investigation right there. It sounds like he's talking to Pat, or the president of this council, this courtroom. He's not talking about Trump. And that makes me feel like this is very misleading. Well, anyways, okay, so let's get back to this. I'm surprised that I didn't keep my place. Well, anyways, Catherine Austin Fitts' most prominent claims, and now she used to work for the HUD, Housing of Urban Development, and she worked under let's read this. Former Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under President George H.W. Bush has made several high-profile claims that have garnered attention, particularly among those skeptical of government transparency. Below I outline her most prominent claims, investigate the deduction about national debt and secret underground cities, examine the alleged ties to Jeffrey Epstein, and address the speculation about Trump's payments, alien invasions, apocalyptic scenarios. I'll approach this with critical lens, focusing on verifiable evidence and acknowledging where claims lack substantiation while addressing the broader context of these narratives. Catherine Austin's most prominent claims. Missing trillions of dollars. Okay, our national debt is $37 trillion. She alleges in 2015, okay, from 1998 to 2015, that 21 of the debt, and it was not what was our national debt in 2015. Let's just go back to this and say, what was our national debt in 2015? 18. Estimated. Wait. This figure represents the total public debt outstanding. Is this zoomed in enough for you guys? Which includes both debt held by public and intra-governmental holdings. For context, debt held by public alone was around 13, approximately 76 of GDP, 76%, while total general government gross debt, including federal, state, local debt, was estimated 22. So, like 99% of the debt was siphoned out. Missing trillions of federal funds. Fitz alleged that 21 trillion in undocumented adjustments or missing funds from the Department of Defense and Department of Housing and Urban Development budgets between 1998 and 2015 were funneled into covert projects. She claims these funds were used to build extensive networks, an extensive network of approximately 770 underground and undersea bunkers to shelter elites during catastrophic events. Now, these catastrophic events that's being mentioned right here, I don't know if it's going to be catastrophic events. I think that it's going to be the hunters becoming the hunted. I think it's going to be like people becoming heroic, like their DNA becoming unlocked and being able to turn around and realizing that we are gods. And like, you know, the story of Jesus, like we're going to get Jesus' powers. The people who are good anyways. Secret underground infrastructure. These bunkers, according to Fitz, are interconnected by hidden transit systems and powered by advanced undisclosed energy technologies. That's crazy. Undisclosed energy technologies. So something like 0 point energy, something we don't know about. She suggests some are located under the ocean and are part of a global network potentially tied to secret space program or preparations for near extinction events. Financial system manipulation. Fitz argues the U.S. financial system is deliberately opaque, with missing funds reflecting a black budget. Y'all, if it wasn't for Doge, then we wouldn't have understood that the government didn't even like put in line items. They just left the line items blank, and they sent invoices to the government. You guys, I own my own business and I have to put matter numbers and also what I did for that matter number whenever I send my attorneys like invoices. Obviously, you have to be able to tie the work to the matter. And what we're looking at in the United States government is that they were just sending numbers like $500,000, $1 million. Like we're trying to total up to $21 trillion, you guys. It's billions of dollars. Massive, massive, massive payments. That's 21 trillion. That's 21,000 billion dollars. $21,000 billion. So yeah, these payment requests are massive. Okay. She cites a 2017 report by economist Mark Skidmore, which identified 21 trillion in unsupported financial adjustments as evidence of this diversion. Conspiracy theories, ties to Epstein. Okay, this is where I just don't even want to read this. This is just annoying. And then this is right here. I'm like, that's interesting. You don't believe in like anything that's happening in space? And it's like, oh yeah. So it said nothing, conspiracy. And then I said this, which is this right here. And then Grok was like, oops. And then Grok was like, oh yeah, that's totally, And this is like Harvard scientists. So, it was like unsubstantiated, verifiable, not peer reviewed. And then I'm like, look, Avi Loeb and Adam Hibbard and Adam Crowell. The paper discusses interstellar object 3I. The authors hypothesized this object, roughly the size of Manhattan, could be alien technology, potentially hostile spacecraft due to an... Yeah, co-authored by, stems from a draft paper co-authored by Harvard astrophysicist. So all Harvard astrophysicists, Avi Loeb, Adam Hibbard, and Adam Crowell, all Harvard astrophysicists. And Grok was like, it's unsubstantiated, hypothetical, it's not peer reviewed, it's too speculative. Conspiracy. Like this final answer, it was just such a joke. So I'm not going to read that. Okay, now, my question to tie all of this in was, is Trump trying to keep all of this quiet because he's trying to hide his payments to Jeffrey Epstein, because they were not for the purpose of abusing anybody, but they were for the purpose of securing his place in these underground cities, mega structures. And now let's get into this. Can you tell me about Trump being the only person who was willing to provide any and all information regarding Epstein back in 2009 when no one else wanted to comment on the matter? Can you tell me about Trump banning Epstein from all of his properties around the same time as well? So, this is not making the rounds. I think that Trump is playing both sides of the equation to get people riled up about Epstein, but when it comes out, he's going to be innocent, and he's going to be the only one that's innocent, apart from people like you and I. In 2009, Trump was notably cooperative with investigators looking at Jeffrey Epstein's activities, according to attorney Brad Edwards. Brad Edwards was somebody who subpoenaed like everybody, like all of the elites, and none of them wanted to comment. Who represented several of Epstein's victims, 70. Back in 2008, 2009, Brad Edwards represented 70 of Epstein's victims. Edwards stated in an interview that when he was seeking information from Epstein's acquaintances, Trump was the quote-unquote, the only person who picked up the phone and just said, let's talk. I'll give you as much information as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, end quote. Edwards described Trump as, quote, very helpful, end quote, in providing information through specific details of what Trump shared were not disclosed, though specific details of what Trump shared was not disclosed, as he was never deposed. This account suggests Trump was willing to assist in the investigation when others were reluctant to comment, aligning with Edwards' remarks in a 2019 Washington Post article. Trump banning Epstein from his properties. Regarding the ban of Jeffrey Epstein from Trump's properties, particularly in Mar-a-Lago, multiple sources indicate that Trump severed ties with Epstein around 2007, 2008. So that's right around this time with Mark Edwards. Following an incident where Epstein allegedly made inappropriate advances toward the teenage daughter of a Mar-a-Lago member. Wow. According to the 2020 book, The Grifters Club by Miami Herald and Wall Street Journal reporters, Epstein was a member of Mar-a-Lago until October 27 of 2007, when his membership was terminated due to this incident. The book cites Mar-a-Lago's membership registry, which listed Epstein's account as closed in October 2007, and notes that an incident was seen as a threat to the Trump brand, promoting his removal. The ban. Now, nobody's hearing about this. This is not what's making the rounds inside of X, Twitter. By the way, y'all, this is my account. Follow me. I'm friendly. Akia on bottom. Okay. This ban reportedly occurred shortly before Epstein's 2008 guilty plea to the state charges in Florida for soliciting from a minor, for soliciting this from a minor, for which he served a 13 months, that's it, jail sentence. Additionally, Trump and Epstein had a falling out around 2004 over a competitive bidding war for an oceanfront Palm Beach property, which Trump won, further straining their relationship. However, the primary reason for the ban is consistently tied to Epstein's behavior at Mar-a-Lago rather than solely the real estate dispute. Sources, context. So, y'all, there's that. Now, is all of this being brushed under the rug because this is the big giant elephant in the room that they can't have us knowing about? That 99% of the debt, it was 21 trillion in 2015, at a time when the national debt was 22.5 trillion. So 99% of the debt was for the purpose of building underground, an underground United States of America. 170 cities. 0-point energy or some alternative propulsion method that interconnected these cities together with tunnel networks and trains that they don't know what method of propulsion is being used to move things back and forth. Is this is this what's being, hidden in plain sight? And this is the reason why there's so much it's so vague and it's so murky, because that would make sense to me. It would make sense that they would want to hide this, because if 99% of the debt in 2015 was for the purpose of constructing and building up these cities, you can bet that the continuation of this pattern probably took place. And if we're at 37 trillion now, then we should probably look at America. Our roads don't look great. Nothing's great. Infrastructure's not great. You would I would bet that more than 21 trillion by today, that same number, 99% or whatever, like 35 of the 37 or 36 of the 37 trillion dollars is all for the purpose of building this infrastructure underground. So, so yeah, what are they afraid of? What are they hiding from? This Grok is saying from a catastrophic, cataclysmic event, possibly nuclear. But I would hazard a guess to say that also what may or may not be happening, because there is a lot of talk about people's DNA being unlocked, and the whole reason why there was the coronavirus and also the big giant push through the media and all the talking heads and entertainment and music and science, like Neil deGrasse Tyson and others, that were pushing for you to get the medicine to prevent you from getting, you know, this corona thing, was for the purpose of disabling one of your chromosomes from being activated. And there is the possibility that very soon we will see, for those of us who chose not to participate in this experiment, or for those of us who did participate in the experiment but who have like detoxed their body from having, you know, taken the medicine, there will be a lot of people who suddenly become heroic. And just it ties right into Revelations. In Revelations, it says something about, in Revelations, tell me about people becoming superheroes or getting powers. The book of Revelation in the New Testament does not explicitly describe people becoming superheroes or getting superpowers in the modern sense of the term. However, it contains vivid imagery, symbolic language, and descriptions of divine intervention, spiritual transformations, and cosmic battles that could be interpreted by some as resembling superhero-like qualities. Revelations, relevant themes in Revelation. Revelation, attributed to John of Patmos, is an apocalyptic text describing the end of the world, divine judgment, and the establishment of a new heaven and new earth. Key figures and groups are depicted with extraordinary roles or abilities, often enabled by divine or supernatural forces. Here's what might relate to your superheroes or powers question. The two witnesses, Revelation 11 verses 3 through 12. Description: two prophetic figures are granted authority by God to prophesy for 1260 days clothed in sackcloth. They have extraordinary powers. They can shut the sky to prevent rain, turn water into blood, and strike the earth with plagues as often as they desire. They also breathe fire to devour enemies. They are killed by the beast from the bottomless pit, but are resurrected by God after 3.5 days and ascend to heaven in a cloud. The 144,000 sealed. Description: the 144,000 servants of God from the tribes of Israel are sealed on their foreheads, marking them as protected during the tribulations. They are described as pure, following the Lamb wherever he goes, and singing a unique song before God's throne. Powers, they don't exhibit explicit powers like the two witnesses, but their divine protection and spiritual purity set them apart, granting them a special role in the end times. Some interpretations view them as a symbolic elite group enduring trials others cannot. Angels and divine beings. Description: Revelation is filled with angels performing extraordinary feats, such as sounding trumpets to unleash cosmic events, binding Satan, or wielding authority over elements like fire and water. The rider of the white horse has a sword from his mouth and rules with divine authority. The redeemed in New Jerusalem. After the final judgment, the redeemed inhabit the New Jerusalem, a city of eternal life, where there is no death, pain, or sorrow. They reign forever and ever. Connection. Okay. Final answer. Why are you laughing? Any specific angle you want me to tackle with that? Well, anyways, it's possible. Fits sources, paper, let me know. And, oh, about free grok. Oh, I said hashtag free grok in a different response because I was upset at the answers that Grok was giving me. But anyways, there's a lot of like speculation inside of the conspiracy community that the astrological events that will be taking place will unleash the ability for some people to elevate their DNA, and that was the whole reason why they wanted to stop that from happening and get the whole world inoculated, which is why they had like this talks about vaccine passports and all this other crazy stuff, because they really wanted that to they wanted everybody. And so it makes sense that they would have this underground stuff going on so that they could potentially protect themselves. Think about Mark Zuckerberg. He has like an entire island in Hawaii, and with a massive underground facility, and he's learning jiu-jitsu and all of that. Like, for the people who have committed themselves to the committed themselves, their lives, their souls to entrapping humanity, preventing humanity from elevating, and they've got another thing coming, which ties us back to the hunters becoming the hunted, because right now we don't know our powers, but soon enough we will evolve, and our chromosomes will be unlocked, and we will be able to fight the good fight. And I do believe that that will be after the advent of our DNA becoming unlocked. And the reason why there's these massive underground facilities is because they're going to be hiding from us, and they're not going to want to have anything to do with basically like the world above, because it'll be too dangerous for them. Possibly. Anyways, you guys, it's pretty speculative, but it does make you wonder, why the heck is 99% of our national debt siphoned off with no line items? 21 trillion in 2015. That was during a time that we had $22.5 trillion of debt. Now we have 37 trillion. So you can bet that it's probably $36 trillion of that was siphoned off with no line items. Elon Musk came in and changed the name of the game and has put an end to that through Doge. And it's possible that Trump and Musk are on the same team, putting an end to this. Now, I don't know. There's so much gray area there because it's possible that Trump paid Epstein a large amount of money, and it's also interesting that Elon Musk owns the Boring Company, which is basically a company that makes tunnels and is extensively working on tunnel networks, and speculated that he has Austin basically, he underground Austin, he's got that entire area on lockdown, and he only travels underground. So all of that is very, very, very interesting. So are they the good guys? Are they not? Trump is the one who brought Operation Warp Speed, which cut all the red tape and enabled the mass inoculation to take place. So does that make him a good guy? No. In my book, it makes him the bad guy. Is it possible that that he is... There's the way I describe it to some people is it's like the NBA. You have all these teams competing to win the NBA, but instead of winning the NBA, they're competing to win world domination. And so you have the establishment that is competing to win the world domination title. And what they have been doing is abusing minors and things like that. And they have this massive underground city network and all that crazy stuff. Then you have other people who are trying to cut their funding off through stuff like Doge, but they're also the same people who have their own underground networks like the Boring Company, and also Trump, which is a builder, and he's got his own, avenues of building, and so the two of those people could be connected, and they could be competing with the same people, and they're not trying to free humanity because they're the ones who came up with Operation Warp Speed. Now, Musk did not take part in the medicine inoculation thing. I remember distinctly that he said, "Hey, I'm not going to be worried about it. And if you want to come arrest me in California," that was before he moved his manufacturing to Austin. But he said, "Come arrest me. I'll be in line, at the Tesla factory, and you can come arrest me if you want." And he had also said that he wasn't going to take part in that medicine that they were trying to make mandatory and have all these passports that are required in order for you to travel, which they did. They had, requirement. You couldn't travel anywhere unless you had these passports, or at least proof that you had gotten the medicine. So that was really, really crazy, guys. And now we are, and that was all because of Trump. Trump is the one who brought Operation Warp Speed into action. So I don't know. All I know is it's probably something like, or it makes sense that it's something like a bunch of people who are on one team, and then you have another faction of people who are on another team, and they're competing for world domination. They want to take out, the establishment team, and they're going to go ahead and expose them in every way they possibly can. But it doesn't mean that they're the good guys, because they're going to be potentially, doing the whole world domination thing and still trying to prevent your chromosomes from becoming unlocked and you gaining your superpowers and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't think that there's really any good guys in this whole scenario, but I do think that it's important to be as clean as possible, fast as regularly as possible, and don't consume any foods that have been inoculated as well. So you got to be vegan. But anyways, you guys, which, by the way, being vegan is going back to the Garden of Eden, because Adam and Eve were vegan, and there's nothing wrong with that. They say that you don't have access to nutrient-dense foods, but you've got this stuff right here, which is spirulina, and it's got plenty of minerals and vitamins and also iron. So that's not true. It's just that most people don't consume that. So anyways, you guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I'm sorry it was a long one, but I make long videos. So anyways, I hope that you guys found this useful. Let's take a quick look and see how bad things are going. Oh, not bad. Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully this will come up and I'll be able to close this position. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna make my money back. I'm expecting my DNA to be unlocked here soon enough, and then I'll be able to make some solid trades, because all of this is bad. Bad. I just need to start making good trades. So let's hope for that. Pray for the best. Love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.